All right, YouTube. It's Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit. It's still Tuesday, but I'm back with another video. I just seen the Byron Donalds Byron Donalds interview on the Breakfast Club. They had, I think her name is Angela Ree or Angela Rye on there with Charlemagne and Envy, and you know Byron Donalds was in enemy territory. He was in enemy territory because we've seen how conservatives are done when they go to interviews on the left. But I want you to watch this interview. This is one of the most explosive interviews I've seen up to date because Byron Donalds is going to prove to the Breakfast Club who broke the economy and who caused the inflation. Then he's going to ask, if you pay someone to fix your house and they broke your house, would you pay him to fix your other house? Of course not. And he's going to give them the facts. So I'm not going to talk your ear off, but you got to watch this interview. You got to look at Charlemagne's face while all this is going on. So this is for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act, for education, commentary, and the First Amendment. Check it out.
I want to talk about the complexities of reparations, whether or not there should be a study in this country. You again have said that this country is not racist, and even though it has a dark past, it doesn't sound like you think it has a dark present. You have not sponsored.
Okay, I'm going to interject one time before I go. Now, you know she's going to definitely play the race card. The race card is her number one tool in her arsenal, not the policies. Watch how this unfolds.
That bill. You haven't co-sponsored that bill. Why not?
How many people in the United States today are actually descendants of slave owners? Forget descendants of slaves. Let's hold that to the side. Descendants of slave owners. You've had massive immigration into the United States over the last 150 years. So now you're going to say that people who immigrated to the United States, who are not descendants of slave owners, were not descendants of that trade, now they're going to be responsible for paying that out going forward. My mother's Jamaican. My father's Panamanian. You have a lot of black people in this country who are not descendants of the American slave trade. So I already know off top, there's a lot of black people in America who aren't going to be able to get that kind of benefit or get reparations.
Well, most people who are for reparations, they feel like it should go to what they call foundational black Americans anyway.
And I agree with that point. But I'm just saying, I'm just laying out, these are the reasons for why I'm no. So
now, you do support reparations for what Leonard just deemed as, quote, foundational black Americans?
No, I don't.
No.
But I want to explain that. I want to explain that. And so that's why you have a lot of people saying, okay, well, then what are we going to do? And so my view is that what you do going forward is why you have to have wholesale changes in economic, medical policy, et cetera, so that the ability to access various parts of our economy and grow in our economy work for everybody, including people in our country who are, quote unquote, foundationally black. There was a bill in California for reparations. The California Assembly, which is massively Democrat, they didn't move that bill. They could have moved that bill. When they were asked why they weren't moving that bill, they tucked tail and turned and ran away. They didn't even have the guts to actually answer that question. So I'm here with y'all. I'll tell you why I'm a no. But you have Democrats who will say they're for something, but when it comes time to actually do it, they're not there for you. They say they run away. They don't answer the question, and to be blunt, like the current vice president, not answering a lot of questions.
But she did say that she's for reparations.
After she said she wasn't. So which one is it?
No, she never said she wasn't.
That's never happened.
That's the false narrative.
All right, that's fine. I'm gonna let it
go. She was here when she said.
I'm gonna let you have it. I'm not gonna challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna challenge.
Boy. Once again, we got to talk about Black Democrat Party propagandists getting upset when Republicans school them with facts that don't align with the narrative, with the propaganda that Democrats want to push on black people. Okay, and that is what this video is about. Featuring Byron Donalds, who is on the Breakfast Club, and he is facing Charlemagne the Devil and Angela Ree and the other light-skinned guy, DJ Envy, on this show, okay? And Angela Ree is one of these women that is ultra woke, and I just want to remind you guys how woke this woman is. I mean, she went on CNN and was boohoo, whining, and crying about how people are calling her racist for calling out racism. Take a look.
I just want to say, Congressman, like, I wish that the new members, the folks who have followed in your footsteps could at least acknowledge that. Like, that's all so many of us are saying. And at this point, I'm emotional.
And let's fix it.
Because we cannot, like, it's like being constantly gaslit. We're constantly being told, I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy. And I wish that somebody who's a colleague of mine, like Alice, could at least acknowledge that fact. Like, that is so frustrating.
Yeah, so nobody should be surprised that she's going to spend a significant portion of this conversation with a sitting congressman talking about a bunch of bullshit that doesn't really matter, okay? I'm so serious, okay? She's going to talk about is America a racist country and qualified immunity and police brutality, all things that in 2024 don't matter, right? These are not...
Now, I want you to hear him break down qualified immunity. When he mentions qualified immunity, they use that as a scare tactic, just like they use Project 2025. Qualified immunity is like a limited liability company. They have insurance or protection against an accident that may happen while on the job. You'll be immune from your personal self having to pay if there's an accident on the job. That would be the equivalent of immunity. But if you do something outside of what your job is, then you no longer have immunity. So in dealing with a police force, they have immunity until they do something that violates the United States Constitution. Then they lose their immunity. That's the law. They don't tell you that part, that if that officer actually violates a constitutional right that you have, he loses all immunity. Byron Donald is going to break this down.
Pressing issues that we should be talking about, but this is what they want to spend time talking about because this is what they like to fearmonger black people with, right? These false perceptions that your life is in danger as a black person because of police. So this is what they're going to talk about, and Byron Donald is going to calmly school this panel on the reality of policing in America and racism and the fact that we really should be talking about the real issues, which is all the damage that has been caused to this country by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I asked him, I was like, well, why'd you make the move? He goes, because up there was no support for me as an officer for what I love to do, which is serve my community. So I said, enough is enough. I'm gonna move. He went to Florida. My sheriff in Florida, he's like, I have more applications coming from officers who are in states or in localities where they're not getting the moral support or whatever they need to continue to do their job day in, day out. And so they're leaving. Well, who does that hurt? That hurts. Who does that really hurt, though, Charlamagne? Yeah, because if you don't have officers if you don't have officers on the streets or officers, in urban areas, who's really left in that lurch?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what does qualified immunity have to do with having less police officers?
Because the economic incentive of qualified immunity means that your personal assets aren't gone after if something goes wrong. So, you're in business. Do you get involved in a project or a deal that leaves you massively exposed financially? You may, depending on your passion for that project, but then you also sit back and think, now, wait a minute. If something goes wrong, I'm going to be held massively liable. Maybe I need to do something.
If something goes wrong, we're talking about people getting violently hurt or killed.
Yeah, clearly.
And I named people that you brushed over.
But it's clear when somebody clearly violates a constitutional right.
And when you violate a constitutional right, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not, Angela, don't do that. It does not. I thought that was the definition. No, it does not. I thought that was the definition. No, it does not. If you carry yourself outside of the confines of your training and the protocols of that department, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you.
That's not true.
That is very true. That is very true. It's patently true, and we need to make sure we have that accurate. We cannot make that statement because you have a lot of officers out here who do their job with honor and dignity and respect for the people that they serve.
It was a qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials from civil lawsuits when they perform their jobs unless they clearly violate a constitutional right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And what is a violation of that right is when...
Did you just hear that? Let me play it back.
When somebody clearly violates a constitutional right.
And when you violate a constitutional right, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not, Angela. Don't do that. It does not.
I thought that was the definition. I thought that was the definition.
No, it does not.
I thought that was the definition.
No, it does not. If you carry yourself outside of the confines of your training and the protocols of that department, qualified immunity doesn't apply to you.
That's not true.
That is very true. That is very true.
Patently false.
It's patently true, and we need to make sure we have that accurate. We cannot make that statement because you have a lot of officers out here who do their job with honor and dignity and respect for the people that they serve.
Listen, qualified immunity is a legal doctrine that protects government officials from civil lawsuits when they perform their jobs unless they clearly violate a constitutional right.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And what is a violation of that right is when they're outside the norms of their training and the protocols of that department or that agent, of that.
Okay, you see what he just debunked. The argument about Trump's going to give everybody qualified immunity. Police going to be able to do what they want. That's just been debunked. Now watch where it goes to where she says in bills that get passed through Congress, the details don't matter. Check this out, what's coming.
Agency.
Boom. In my opinion, I think it's a waste of time to be having this conversation about qualified immunity, right? I know there's a lot of woke revolutionaries out there and maybe people who are more libertarian in nature who want to get rid of it, right? But the only thing you're going to do is that you're going to destroy policing in America, okay? You're going to create more pockets of chaos and destruction, particularly in these liberal cities, really, to be quite honest with you, because you're going to have police that don't want to do the job, right? You're opening up police to civil liabilities for doing their jobs, right? And people got to understand that we do not live in the ideal world, okay? We don't. There's a lot of gray in this world that we live in, okay? And when police are doing their jobs, they have to make a lot of split-second decisions, right? So you have to allow some gray area for police to do their jobs without having to worry about potentially losing their financial livelihoods because they were doing their jobs, right? And that is the reality of policing in America, okay? There is no perfect solution. It's about trade-offs, okay? Do you want to live in a world where police are basically allowed to be sued for basically anything, okay? Because if you want to live in that world, yeah, you're not going to have any police brutality because you're not going to have any police, right? But if you want to live in a world where, hey, we allow some protections, again, if, police aren't, committing criminal activities, if they aren't clearly violating people's constitutional rights, hey, they got some protections to do their jobs because, again, they're dealing with violent criminals, then, yeah, you're going to get some police brutality, okay, every now and then. But once again, if you're not a criminal, okay, if you're not living a life of crime, there's a 99.999% chance you will never have to deal with it, even if you interact with a police officer. If you treat the police officer with respect, okay, if you don't try to talk back, if you comply, then you will walk out of that situation alive, right? There's a 99.99999% chance that will happen, okay? That is the reality, okay? And here's the thing. My biggest problem with policing is not even a police brutality issue, right? My biggest problem with policing is when you have police that don't actually do their jobs. When it comes time for them to serve and protect, like, for example, a mass shooter enters a school and the police officer runs away, yeah, that's my issue with policing, right? That's my biggest issue with policing, okay? But my issue with policing is not how they treat criminals, okay? That is the last thing that I'm worried about, okay? So, again, I find these conversations, again, to be a complete and total waste of time because for a vast majority of society, this is not a problem at all. And I know somebody will pull up some example about some dude getting screwed over by cops that was innocent. It happens, right? That's the law of numbers, okay? I mean, that's just what it is, okay? But I'm willing to accept there will be situations like that, but let's hope those situations will be remedied, right? Rather than to go with the alternative, which is lawlessness, okay? As a conservative, I value law and order, right? That is the essence of conservatism, which is establishing law and order so that we can have a moral and just society, right? You need to have law and order in order to have a functioning society. That's just what it is.
Here's the main thing, because we can actually go past qualified immunity because this is the place where you've refused to answer both on Donald Trump's accountability and on the law enforcement that you love so dearly.
Right.
What we know is that he's seeking full immunity, like the same immunity he now has because of the Supreme Court. Because of the corruption of the Supreme Court, we have now gone beyond civil presidential immunity to criminal presidential immunity. He would like to give that same immunity to law enforcement. True or false?
Well, let's expand that a couple
True
things.
or false?
You can't answer true or false, Angela, because you got to explain the details. No, see, this is the problem.
I don't want you to explain the details, because when you explain the details,
why you don't want people to hear the details, Angela? The details are what the things that matter.
I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to stop right there because I'm going to rewind it back. Now, you see how he debunked them earlier. Now, she threw something else out there on a yes or no question, and he wants to explain the details. How is she actually saying details don't matter? The details are the things that do matter in policy.
You gotta explain the details, or then you just talk. You're just talking,
and then explain.
If you don't explain the details, then you're just talking.
Yeah, you don't want to say that because you know that it's not true. So
that is not true. You want a true or false statement.
Congressman, I want to know.
I don't want to argue with you. I want to explain the facts. Angela, I don't want to argue with you.
I would like to know if you've ever experienced racism in this country, Congressman.
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
See how she goes right back to race baiting? This is what they do over there when you really try to get down to what is policy, what are the laws. You know what I mean? They go straight back to race baiting. But watch how this plays out.
I want you guys to understand. This woman just said that, well, the details don't matter. Right? You're supposed to say true or false to a question that she's clearly framing in a way that is probably misleading, okay? And Byron Donalds wants to go into details about the framing of the question before he answered the question. And she said, no, details don't matter, right? Details don't matter. This is what liberals believe. Details don't matter.
Yeah, I have.
Okay. Do you believe America is a racist country?
No, I don't.
Okay, I believe that that's true because you said that in an op-ed on Fox News. As a Black conservative, I, like Senator Scott, agree in our two lives and the lives of many Black men and women like us are living proof that America is indeed no longer a racist nation and by far the best place to reach your fullest potential. And so here's my question. You did, however, vote to support the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act, along with every member of the House except for 3 Republicans. So I appreciate your bipartisanship there. And what I do know as well, because America is in fact a racist country, was founded on such principles. Black men were lynched by the carceral state last week. I'm sure you've heard of Marcellus Williams by now in Missouri, who was convicted by a nearly all-white jury, and Freddie Owens in South Carolina, who was executed despite his friend recanting testimony that Owens was not in fact there. This is the same state, by the way, that allowed for a firing squad as an execution option. Black people are about...
Okay, so 2 criminals that were executed, rightfully executed. Again, this is what they're doing. They're trying to say this is an example of lynching, right? When criminals get executed for murder, okay, and I've looked into these cases. These guys are definitely guilty, okay? Both of them are guilty, right? I mean, the guy in South Carolina, not only did he kill a woman, that's a single mother of 3 that was working like 3 jobs to feed her kids, shot her in the head, point blank, because she couldn't open up the cash register or something as he was robbing her. The dude got in jail and then killed somebody in jail, right? Killed a dude in jail that was there for a traffic violation. So this guy killed 2 people, but yet Angela Rhea said talking about, well, they were lynched. They were lynched by the state. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is the biggest problem with Black folks. We worry about the wrong thing. We care more about the criminals and the lives of a criminal than we care about the lives of the innocent Black people that lose their lives on a daily basis to the criminals, right?
I'm going to stop there. What do you think about what he just said? Tell me what you think in the comments about what he just said.
Put more effort behind trying to defend criminals than we do trying to defend innocent lives. This is the problem. And this is why Black people are so ass backwards, okay? This is why we're at the bottom. This is why people are laughing, because we're worried about criminals being executed. That's what we're worried about. This is what we waste our time on. You're wasting your time talking to a sitting congressman crying about criminals being lynched, when first of all, they were not lynched. Lynching also is not a problem in the United States of America. That's not really happening anymore. Okay, so any conversations about the problem of lynching in America is just silly. It's a waste of time. But let's say that the criminals that were executed, let's say that they did actually commit the murders, which they did, okay, because they were found guilty in the court of law, and judge after judge, governors, federal courts all reviewed these cases and said, nah, like, you definitely are guilty, okay? But let's just say they weren't guilty, right? Let's just say they weren't. If they did not live a life of crime, if they were not criminals, career criminals, they would not have put themselves in situations where they could be accused of murder in the first place. Therefore, they would not have been executed had they not lived a life of crime. It's really that simple. Don't live a life of crime. Do not become a career criminal, and your chances of being falsely accused of a crime, falsely being accused of murder, being wrongfully executed by the state is basically zero, okay? But again, that's not what these people want to focus on, right? They don't want to focus on actually holding criminals accountable. No, they want to try to make the criminals out to be the victims, right? And these are the conversations they want to sit down and have with sitting congressmen. This is why, again, we're not making any progress, because this is our so-called leadership right here, right here.
7.5 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted of murder in the United States than are white folks, and about 80% more likely to be innocent than others convicted of murder, according to a 2022 report by the National Registry of Exonerations. So please tell me how America is not a racist country.
First thing I would say is that our past is a dark one. It really is. We can't walk away from that. We had whole laws that were subjugating black people in the South of this nation for decades after the Civil War. We can't walk away from that one. I believe that in America, we have great people in this country, and we have some people, quite frankly, that even I can't stand. But
now I'm going to say this. Angela Reed is being disingenuous. I know she doesn't believe that every person in America is racist. Every person in America is racist. Is that what she's saying? Because if that's the case, she's a racist and she should leave. Or somebody should leave, or something. She can't believe that. So why do they keep putting out these disingenuous arguments? Nothing on policy. We keep going back to race. Clearly, that's all she got in her arsenal, race baiting.
They're the vast, vast, vast minority of people in our country. Most people just want to live in harmony and peace. That's what they really want. I think the important thing to acknowledge today is what's going to help black people going forward. And what's going to help black people moving forward is economic policy. It's actually wide open energy policy so we can be energy dominant. It's, yes, securing our southern border, because we have a situation right now where, yeah, there are more than 15 million illegal aliens in the country. Where do they reside? Mostly in sanctuary cities like New York. Where are they at? Sanctuary states like Illinois, like California. What's happening in those cities? Hospital systems are overrun. Why are they overrun? Because you have people in the country illegally who don't have resources, so they're going into the emergency room. What are they taking up? They're taking resources from poor people in our country, whether they're black, whether they're Hispanic, whether they're white. That's wrong. What about education? We have a situation where in too many inner cities, kids are not reading at grade level, or they don't have math skills at grade level. How does that help them excel and achieve? I don't want to discount what Angela is saying. I don't. I acknowledge the issue of our nation, but we always are trying to strive to be the more perfect union. So in 2024, what are the economic policies? What are the national security policies? What are the border security policies that are gonna make our country thrive? So whether you black, Hispanic, or white, you could thrive.
Right.
And so I think it's
so then
important.
Would you have to say that if it wasn't a racist country, whether you're black, white, or Hispanic, you could thrive?
No.
Are we thriving? Are members in your
state?
I would argue
we're not really thriving right now. This inflation, which, by the way, was brought to us by Kamala Harris, has really slowed down people from being able to excel.
By Kamala?
Yes.
Vice President.
Watch how you see Angela Reed is laughing, and then Charlamagne said, by Kamala, how? They think it's a joke. Watch how this play out.
Oh, Charlamagne.
It's still the president.
Charlamagne, listen, man. When Joe Biden wanted to do his American Rescue Plan, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate. She broke the tie that started this inflation that has hurt so many people in our country. Everybody listening to your show. It's not true?
First of all, it's
sure you want to go there?
Tie-breaking vote.
You sure you want to go there?
You go outside, Congressman, you go outside.
You sure you want to go there? Okay, let's go there.
You had it
You got notes. You got notes, Angela, right?
That's fine. I have notes too.
I'm gonna give it
The
to
biggest note
Charlamagne.
I have today
I'm gonna give it to Charlamagne.
is that on
I don't
every
even wanna
question
hold it.
I've asked,
Because Angela, hold on now. Go
for
ahead.
every infrastructure project in your community,
You can go to
should
third
go
page,
out
just
and
the highlighted
thank
portion.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Congress that voted for the American Rescue Plan.
Angela,
That's what should be happening.
Larry Summers wrote an op-ed back in 2021. Larry Summers was the Treasury Secretary for Bill Clinton. He was an economic advisor to Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the American Rescue Plan that Joe Biden wanted, that Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote in the United States Senate, would create a massive inflation that we have not seen in a generation. Well, guess what? Larry Summers was correct. You know who also was correct, Angela? I was, because I was in the budget committee when they brought the bill. And I said in that committee, it's going to cause massive inflation. That's what happened. So the problem we have in our economy today is that prices have gone up massively. Wages adjusted for inflation is down. People's pocketbooks are hurting. But we have a presidential election in 40 days. So, and I'm gonna ask Envy this question. Envy, you're in the housing business as well. I know because I listen to the show. No, I'm just asking them a question. Chill, Angela. So I listen to the show. I know you do a lot of business in housing. Mm-hmm. Would you hire somebody that broke up stuff in one of your houses to fix the other houses?
No.
Exactly. She broke the economy.
I'm not going to do this morning, Byron.
Why are you not going to do this, Angela? Because I'm bringing facts. Hold on now. So now I'm bringing facts and you don't want to do it no more? Come on now, Angela. That's not right. I'm bringing facts. I thought we were going to have a fact-based conversation. I want to have a fact-based conversation.
You wanted to bring up votes, and so let's talk about votes.
Go ahead.
You have a 96% voting record with Heritage Action.
Angela,
and for those who are listening,
I just want you to see that. See how she changed the subject after the race baiting didn't work, and then he proved that the people y'all are telling us to vote for, the very person that you're telling us to vote for to fix the economy, is the person that broke it and won't even own up to breaking it. Say it ain't so. This is Detroit's HPTV. Sound you are Detroit. Support the nonprofit Detroit Black Thought and Ask Collective. Cash apps in the description. Salute to all patriots. Keep your head on swivel. Peace. Like, share, and subscribe.